Okay, now it's time to start planning out where your electronics are going to sit. So what I've gone ahead and done at this stage is I am running a gyro, so it's really important for me to get this to as close to the center of gravity as possible. So I've gone through the manual, and the manual says that the center of gravity is 110 mil behind the point. So I put a little line there. I've also put the same line underneath and just written 110. I would love to have got the gyro smack bang over the top, but the length of the servos aren't quite allowing me to get there. This is just held on with a little bit of double-sided foam tape to give the gyro a little bit of a helping hand. I have mounted my dual satellite receivers at 90 degrees to each other, again just with a little bit of adhesive foam tape. You'll also notice that I have gone ahead and mounted my motor. I didn't think you guys needed to really see that. It's basically screwing some screws in. The reason I put that on straight away is I thought it'd be a little bit hard to get to once the gyro was in the way. A little bit of a word of warning, the bracket I've designed is 2 millimeters thick. The screws that came with the motor were 6 millimeters long. That meant they were protruding 4 millimeters, which was actually long enough for the screws to come through and touch the windings on the inside of the motor. So I didn't use the screws that were supplied with the motor. I used some little M2 by 4 mil screws with a little bit of a washer on there, and that should be good to go. So the next thing we've got to look at now is just the last couple little bits of our power system. Camera, that sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use my camera for the first couple of flights. I just think, what's the point of, if it's going to crash, what's the point of crashing it with the camera on it? Let's just leave that off for the first couple of flights and we'll fly at line of sight. The other thing I'm going to do is, instead of cutting a big chunk of foam out for where I think the battery is going to live, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big strip of Velcro on there so I can adjust the battery position so I can get the perfect CG, not just what the company's told me where it is. I can actually play with that a little bit. So the last little bit of electronics we have to talk about is your ESC. I've got a 10 amp ESC, probably a little bit of overkill. What I have gone ahead and done is put a battery connector on there. It's micro Deans. If you do decide to use micro Deans, you'll notice that I have put a black mark on one side. You can solder these either way, so just make sure that whichever way you decide, you've done the same for your battery and also your ESC. You'll also notice I have put a little blade connector on here, and that will then go ahead and power this camera is then going to get run off of some 5 volt from the back. So just make sure you're putting that cable in the right place and it's coming off the back, but yeah, 5 volt off the back should be a-okay for that little camera. So let's get those last couple of things done. Okay, so I have gone ahead and finished off the last little bit of the electronics. So basically I just went ahead and soldered up the motor wires to the ESC. Don't forget to check your motor rotation. If you find your motor rotation is spinning the incorrect way, switch any one of the 2 ESC wires. Now when we're talking about the ESC, this is an older ESC, an older 10 amp ESC, so it's not like Simon K firmware or BL Heli firmware. It's a standard plain ESC, and I did find that the ESC was causing the 4000 kV motor to cog a little bit and screech on startup. So what I've had to do is, on startup I've had to set it at super soft on the startup, and I've had to set the ESC to low timing, and that's got me to the point where it's not quite as smooth as a nice BL Heli ESC, but it's what I've got and it's what I'll run with, so it seems to be pretty good. So the only other thing I have done is gone ahead and done all the setup within my transmitter. So I've turned gyros on and also made sure the servos are acting in the correct direction. If you've never set up a plane before, it's really easy. If you are pulling on your elevator, you want your control surfaces to be going up. If you are initiating a right hand turn, you want your right hand elevon to be going up. So we are going in the correct direction. We'll flick our gyro on. You can hear it now twitching its little heart out. Now this gyro is set to do rate mode and also a hold mode, so should be good flying in some windy conditions. So the only thing I've got left to do now is glue the end plates on, and then we can give it a final weigh and hopefully take it out for a maiden. Alright, and there we have it, our completed wing. The only thing we need to do is mount the camera after the first flight, just to make sure everything's okay. The end plates glued on super easy using the same two-part epoxy that I used to glue the frame together. The little 360 milliamp battery has allowed me enough room to get the CG correct, which is excellent. The little 3.6 gram servos have got enough torque to move the control surfaces. Yeah, it's ready to fly, so I'll be back with a flight analysis. Thanks for watching.